The Fairy Who's Mean. Once there was a fairy who was known for being mean. Some would even say the cruelest fairy ever seen. The fairy's name was Lavender, yet rarely called this name. Instead of being Lavender, the mean one she became. But she had not the slightest clue that every act so cruel would cause a bush of thorns to grow. She really was a fool. The mean one often laughed at other fairies getting hurt. She regularly stuck mean notes upon a fairy's skirt. When she attended fairy school, she'd often play cruel tricks, and when she watched the others play, she would throw prickly sticks. She'd break them off the thorny bush that grew around her home. It kept the fairy folk away and all who used to roam. A fairy once was happy with a pie that he had cooked. The mean one walked by closely as away the fairy looked. Then, oops! She sniggered happily at cherry pie upon the floor, so gleeful that young Bud would have to bake his pie once more. All fairies who were near saw the delight upon her face. They whispered to each other, "Her behavior's a disgrace." But Lavender hadn't always been so horrible and cruel. Young Lavender felt anxious when she started fairy school. She watched the other fairies making friends and having fun. I'm sure it would be great to join them playing in the sun. But Lavender sat all alone, not wanting to be seen. When fairies asked her out to play, she started being mean. Soon not a single invite came, and alone she had to play. Her mean and cruel behavior only pushed them all away. And foolishly she cried, "Who wants to play your stupid games?" She kept on being really cruel and calling them all names. The meaner Lavender became, the more the thick thorns grew. She peered out her window pane, now barely seeing through. So in her thorny garden she sat lonely by herself, without a single creature friend, nor fairy, nymph, or elf. And Lavender now realized her ways had made her sad. I really care a lot, and I don't want to behave so bad. Inside, there is a nicer fairy waiting to be freed. By admitting her feelings to herself, she maybe could succeed. One day, while she was sitting in her garden all alone, she heard a muffled shout for help, a whimpering low groan. She flew as fast as possible to find who was in pain, and there she saw a unicorn who caught his flowing mane. His dazzling rainbow hair was now completely coiled and wrapped within the bushes that had grown and held him tightly trapped. Without a second thought, the fairy quickly went to help. Although the bushes tore her skin, she did not even yelp. "If only I'd been kinder, so these thorns had never grown. You'd not be trapped within this bush and stuck here all alone." She tried to calm the unicorn by speaking with him gently. She concentrated really hard and labored on intently. At last she freed the unicorn, and as she set him loose, she said, "I'm really sorry. I do not have an excuse. I wish I could have opened up about my fear and how I felt. If only I could start again, erasing all the hurt I dealt. I learnt that hurting others doesn't take my pain away. It all becomes a whole lot worse. It's really not the way." Her heart she slowly emptied out along with tiny tears. "I wish I knew a way I could repair these awful years." She sobbed, "It's all too late as there is nothing I can do. I truly want to change. I'm sorry I did this to you." The unicorn replied, "There's always time to put things right." She quickly dried her tears. The sun was setting for the night. "Please tell me what to do, and I'll do everything I can." The unicorn said, "Worry not, we'll make the perfect plan. Although it might seem scary, very soon you will feel better. You need to tell them everything. Perhaps you can by letter." She kissed the clever unicorn, then hugged him really tight. She ran inside her house and said, "Yes, I can make this right." The unicorn, becoming trapped, helped Lavender to see, by letting all her feelings out, it could help set her free. She wrote to all the fairies that she'd ever been mean to, and delivered them by hand that night. Yes, on and on she flew. She didn't miss a single home, each heartfelt letter sent. She poured her inner feelings out, apologies were meant. Then Lavender went off to bed, the best she'd ever felt. She knew it was the first time that with problems she had dealt. The fairies gladly read their mail and knew that they'd forgive, and Lavender made friends and lived the life she wished to live. Each day she kept on trying hard to really make amends and started offering her help and baked for all her friends. The thorns began to shrink until they disappeared away. Now Lavender sits with her friends, together they all play. I'm grateful that I've realized that being mean is not the way. I finally don't need to act like everything's okay. She's learned to love herself and is the happiest she's been, and now known by her name and not the fairy who is mean. The end. My little love. Let's tuck you in bed, little love, my little love, for the day has come to an end. You played and you laughed in the bright sunlight, and now the sun must say good night. Lay down, snuggle up, little love, my little love, the stars have a story to tell. They dance through the night, they sparkle and shine. Can you hear them sing? Can you hear their rhyme? Shh. Listen close, little love, my little love. They're telling the story of you. The whoosh of the wind as it blows through the trees in a world filled with wonders. Come on, let's see. See the great mountains, little love, my little love. God made them for you to climb. High, 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 reach up to the sky. Touch the heavens as clouds pass you by. Hold on tight, little love, my little love. In your dreams you have wings to soar. Fly, fly away, soar past the moon. Don't be afraid, let courage lead you. Look around and see, little love, my little love, for God has a special plan. See the trees, the mountains, and the moon? God made these things while thinking of you. See over there, little love, my little love. There goes a shooting star. Hurry, quick, you can catch a ride down to the rainbow. Go for a slide. Grab onto a raindrop, little love, my little love. It will carry you down to the sea. The mighty waves will guide you to shore and bring you back home to me. Close your eyes tight, little love, my little love. God will watch over you tonight. He is here while you sleep, always in your heart. Even your dreams can't keep you apart. I'll see you when you wake, little love, my little love, for the morning brings beauty and light. With sunshine and laughter, adventure will rise. Each tomorrow brings a new surprise. Say goodnight prayers, little love, my little love. We are thankful for so many things. Lord, please keep us safe, bless our family and friends. Thank you for all you do for us. Amen. QUINN-Da-LIN. Today is the day, hooray, hooray. Today is the day I'll get right up. Today is the day I'll find my pup. I'll find a puppy so sweet and kind, just the puppy I have in mind. A puppy to hug when tired or sad, a puppy to love when happy and glad. A puppy to jump, a puppy to run, a puppy that makes life a whole lot of fun. We will gaze up at the stars and even take a spaceship to Mars. We will be the best team and always make time for ice cream. I'll find a puppy so perfect, you see. I'll find a puppy that's different like me. I'll look up, I'll look down, I'll look all over the town. Some were big and some were small, some were skinny, short, and tall. I looked all day, I looked all night, but each little pup didn't seem quite right. And then in a corner I suddenly spied a puppy so cute I couldn't pass by. They told me this pup has been here for a while, how people just passed right on by with no smile. I couldn't help but wonder, with such fluffy fur, why nobody wanted a cutie like her. Her snout was shaggy and wild and bushy, but her face adorable, oh so mushy. She stood tall and proud and a bit floppy. On only 3 legs, she sure was loppy. I found a puppy so perfect, you see. I found a puppy that's different like me. I searched far and wide for my special pup. I'm so very glad that I never gave up. Our life together is about to begin. I love you already, my sweet QUINN-Da-LIN. The end. The zebra that is a bat. Zeno was a zebra unlike any other. While all the others stood in their herd, munching on the grass, Zeno loved nothing more than wearing his big black cape and pretending to be a bat. He squeaked like a bat and flapped his wings like a bat. He even hung upside down like a bat. In fact, he spent so much time in his bat cape, he sometimes forgot he was a zebra. His parents thought it was odd, and his friend thought it was a bit funny, but as long as Zeno was happy, they didn't mind at all. But one day when the zebras were munching and Zeno was hanging in his tree, a new zebra arrived in the herd. He took one look at Zeno and loudly asked, "What's wrong with you? You're not a bat. Why are you acting so weird?" No one had ever said that to Zeno before. Was there something wrong with him? He got down from the tree and looked into the watering hole. His face reflected back at him. It was true. He wasn't a bat. He was a zebra, just like everyone else. That night, when he tried to hang upside down to sleep, the branches broke and Zeno fell to the ground with a crash. Maybe the new zebra was right. Maybe he should start acting like the others. For the first time in what felt like forever, Zeno took off his bat cape. At first, things were going well. Zeno started to copy his friends, doing all the normal zebra-ish things they did. He walked like a zebra, spoke like a zebra, and slept on the ground just like a zebra. "You're so grown up now," his parents said. "Isn't it better to be normal like everyone else?" But Zeno didn't think so. No matter how much he tried to act normal, he still felt like a part of him was missing. Zeno's friend noticed that he wasn't feeling happy. He missed all the fun he used to have with his friend. "Zeno," his friend said, "I don't care what you are, zebra or bat. You are brave, you are kind, and you are my friend because you are you." His friend was right. Zeno knew what he had to do. The next day, as soon as he woke up, he put his bat cape back on. The new zebra saw him and called out, "Looks like Zeno the bat is acting weird again." But Zeno was ready. He knew just what to say. "I like wearing my cape," he said. "If you don't like it, you don't have to wear it." The new zebra was shocked. No one had ever spoken to him like that. He paused for a second and then he asked Zeno a question. "Can I try it on just once?" Zeno couldn't believe it. He took off his cape and threw it over his new friend. Together they squeaked and flapped their wings, and thanks to Zeno's dad fixing the tree branches, they even hung upside down for the rest of the day. "That was so much fun," said Zeno's new friend. "I can't wait to get a cape of my own." When Zeno waved goodbye to his new friend, his parents came up behind him, and in their very own bat capes, they gave him a great big hug. "As long as you're happy, you can be anything you want to be. We love you, Zeno." The end. Cosmo faces the forest of fear. Once upon a time, a family let a special golden puppy named Cosmo into their home and into their hearts. This is where this story starts. It soon came as a shock for the family of four that raising a young pup could be such a chore. For the first few months, the floor was covered with pee and the little guy destroyed everything he could see. He bit and pulled and ate his own poo. The troubles of raising a puppy, it seemed, were true. After many long nights, the thought came to give him away, but the idea was dismissed at the children's dismay. And within no time, things became good and right. The golden puppy learned to lick instead of bite. From 4 to 5, the family became. They loved him dearly, and he felt the same. Now, Cosmo was nearing the age of 1, and the family was going on a vacation for fun. To the grand forest mountains up in the north, with Cosmo's tail wagging, the family set forth. They hadn't been on vacation for long when Cosmo felt that something was wrong. His wagging tail slowed to a stop. He looked around nervously and felt his stomach drop. The tall hills for the family looked fun and cheery, but the golden pup could sense that something was eerie. For every scent of the forest smelled like fear, and the silence of the trees seemed all too queer. "Ruff, ruff!" Cosmo tried to warn his family with a panicked bark, but they couldn't understand the anxiety in his talk. They lay down to sleep in their tent, peaceful at mind, while Cosmo guarded the opening, feeling resigned. The night passed uneventfully to Cosmo's relief. He had jumped to the sound of every moving leaf. He hadn't yet found any reason to fright, but he still knew deep down that something wasn't right. The family set out in the morning to hike. Cosmo stayed alert, ready for something to strike. The last place he wanted to go was into the forest of trees, but there was nothing he could do to express his unease. Everyone seemed carefree and happy except for the golden one. Dad took pictures of Mom and they watched the kids skip and run. Cosmo ran along at their heels, only stopping for treats. Even in his time of stress, he would not refuse his sweets. It was after lunch when the family realized a terrible fact. The girl was nowhere to be seen, not even a track. The parents screamed in terror and called for help. Cosmo made his decision and ran off with a yelp. Cosmo heard his mother shouting his name, but he knew he must find Sis or live in shame. He could sense that a terrible thing lived in the trees and that given a chance, his sister would be seized. As he ran into the forest, a crow croaked from the canopy of trees as if trying to warn. Cosmo's fear for the forest and love for his sister made him feel torn. But no, his mind was made. He would battle his fright. For his sister he would do anything, not run, but fight. Cosmo was going on his way, sniffing here and there, when out of the bushes flew a creature, giving him a scare. Cosmo barked and got ready to charge, but it was just a skunk, nothing scary or large. A skunk! He turned to flee, but the damage was done. He had been hit with a stink and there was nowhere to run. The smell was worse than the fishy cat that lived on his street. He knew to remove the odor would be quite the feat. Skunk looked at Cosmo with an apology in his eyes, for he had not meant to spray, but he had been caught by surprise. The golden was quick to forgive and his tail began to sway. He loved to make new friends and he always loved to play. But he remembered his mission, so he turned to his new friend and asked about the fearsome forest so that he could learn to fend. Skunk's eyes suddenly filled with fear and all the light from the forest seemed to disappear. In a hushed voice, Skunk told Cosmo about the forest fright, a creature big and scary and not afraid to bite. Every animal in the forest feared the terrible beast, wondering and worrying when they would be his next feast. A feline, Skunk finally revealed, ruled those high-up peaks, stalking every creature and pouncing on whom he seeks. His eyes, Skunk said, shine like blazing pits. His pointy teeth and jaws of death could bite anything to bits. Having thanked his new friend, Cosmo resumed his journey ahead. Rather than feeling more frightened, he felt surprisingly relieved instead. The monster of the forest, it turned out, was a cat. Cosmo now knew it was just another pesky brat. However, Cosmo's relief quickly disappeared as he came across a scary sight. Some of the cat's last meal was scattered near a tree, having lost a terrible fight. Cosmo's heart once again pounded against his chest from fear, and from deep within the trees the beast watched with a leer. A shrill screech suddenly pierced through the air. Cosmo knew he was going deeper and deeper into the big cat's lair. His eyes scanned the woods for a sign of Sis, and he sniffed all around so there was nothing he would miss. And suddenly, with a cry of relief, the girl ran from the trees. Cosmo let out a bark of joy as his sister gave him a squeeze. He licked the tears from her cheeks and his tail went wild. She hugged him, scrunched her nose at his stink, and finally smiled. After the sweet reunion, they started walking back to camp. Sis smiled down at Cosmo and he felt like a champ. He smiled back up at her as they went on their way, clueless that the feline was secretly hunting his prey. The big cat knew about Cosmo's trip through the trees, and he knew how to defeat the golden with ease. A treat, he thought, is all it will take to make a trustful friend. And once the dog's guard is down, that will be the end. With this thought, the feline readied his attack. He could hardly wait any longer to enjoy his tasty snack, so he watched intently from above in his place for the perfect time to begin his chase. Suddenly, Cosmo heard a branch snap. He wondered if he was leading them into the villain's trap. He stepped in front of Sis and gave a low growl. The silence of the trees made him sense something foul. With one graceful leap, the beast was on the floor. The girl let out a squeak of horror, and Cosmo let out a roar. His body was tense, and his head was up high. He knew he had to pay attention, or this would be goodbye. The big cat stepped forward, a smile on his face. He pushed a treat toward the golden and back to give him some space. Cosmo looked at the snack, his mouth starting to drool. Was this a peace offering, or a clever way to fool? The smell of the treat began to draw Cosmo near. He almost gave in, but then he saw his sister shaking with fear. Cosmo snapped out of his greedy daze in a flash. He knew that for the very first time he would simply have to pass. Cosmo shoved the offering away with a swipe of his paw. In the cat's master plan, rejection of the treat was a flaw. The beast's eyes flashed with anger and his teeth gleamed. Cosmo's mind worked fast for an idea as his sister screamed. The monster leapt, his jaws open and ready to eat the two, so Cosmo made a decision and did what he had to do. He lifted his leg, took aim, and let the pea fly. The villain got hit straight in the eyes and let out a cry. As the feline streaked and staggered, his eyes red, Cosmo courageously charged at him with his head. He then used his big paws to give the cat a push. The feline lost his balance and fell on his tush. The big cat tried to get up and fight back, but his eyes burned, and the smelly skunk stink hit him with a smack. Before he could even see, he heard a loud shout, and before he had the chance to flee, he was captured by the park scout. Now the feline was hissing at everyone, obviously enraged. Cosmo let out a victory bark when he saw the villain caged. Mom, Dad, and Bro rushed to him and Sis with tears. They hugged and kissed them both and honored Cosmo with 3 cheers. Cosmo became the hero of the day for Sis and Skunk. He became well known throughout the forest for his wit and spunk. The hills thereafter became warm, friendly, and nice, and the feline ended in the zoo where all he has are mice. The end. Kara's dreams. Kara dreamed of growing as tall and as strong as 𝗬𝗀. 𝗬𝗀 had been standing tall for more than 200 years, but Kara had many fears. She feared wind could smash her, water could drench her, earth could swallow her, and night, cold and dark, could freeze her. Some days, Kara woke up and found her friends swaying in the breeze. Other days, she heard wind crack and snap some of them to the ground. One stormy night, Kara's leaves quivered in the rain. Could I be fearless? She wondered. What if I talk to my brave friends? Will I then feel less afraid? What if I get help? I'll ask 𝗬𝗀. Maybe she will help. Hello, 𝗬𝗀. How have you held up high for so long? Do you have a secret magic or a superpower? Kara asked. Dear Kara, let me tell you the story about 𝗕𝗲 and 𝗕cie from when they were growing up, 𝗬𝗀 replied. 𝗬𝗀 continued. One night, a hurricane hit the forest. Many trees fell. 𝗕𝗲 listened to howling wind and swung with her. Swish, swish, swish. 𝗕cie threw sharp needles at wind. Heavy rain poured onto 𝗕𝗲, and she took it as if she were taking a shower. 𝗕cie smirked at water. Earth started washing away, but 𝗕𝗲 dug her roots deep to embrace her like her own mother. 𝗕cie shook his roots instead. He sneered at night while 𝗕𝗲 huddled with night. 100 years and many storms later, 𝗕𝗲 still stands tall with her children. What happened to 𝗕cie? Kara asked. Wind shattered him to pieces. One wounded part lies next to you, 𝗬𝗀 answered. Kara wondered and wanted to know, so she asked 𝗬𝗀, have you ever felt nervous? 𝗬𝗀 replied, I certainly have. It was the first gusty night for my daughter, 𝗕𝗲, and her cousin 𝗕cie. I was worried for their safety. Kara said to herself. If I just smile and believe all is well, all will be well, said Kara. That night, wind charged at Kara. Kara smiled and bowed as wind passed by. Water slammed, and Kara's roots drank all they could. As earth slipped and slid, Kara dug deep and hugged Mother, pulling her closer. Night cradled her and soon turned into day. Day welcomed chirps, tweets, whistles, and a symphony of songs by songbirds. One tune touched a chord in Kara, and soft wind breezed through her. Kara stretched tall and said with conviction, I will hum through storms, I will dance to tunes, I will reach my dreams. The end. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to check out the links in the description box. I'll see you in the next story time.